is good! Ferris State wins the basketball game!
You got it! Game winner!
Rips the shot and it's a score for Ferris State! What a play right there by the Bulldogs!
And so those are the kind of the guys I really wanted to model my mentality after.
When it's bad weather, it kind of comes down to grit. I think our team has a lot of that.
It's like you lose a game, like it hurts so much.
Like we're very culture-based, and so that's what initially got me here.
You're listening to Behind the Bulldogs, brought to you by Ferris State Athletics.
It's another edition of Behind the Bulldogs. Brandon Worth alongside Joe Nagy across the way.
What's up?
And we got another banger episode, one that would be argued as the greatest of all time.
This is our GOAT episode, you think?
Might be.
Our GOAT?
You very well might
Almost
be.
Undisputed. I would say it's pretty darn close to it. I don't know.
Skip. You said undisputed. So
that is true. That is true. But we got huge news. You can probably tell by the thumbnail. You can probably tell by the graphic of the show. We got Dr. Bill Pink, president of the whole darn university, and Steve Brockelbank, athletic director for Ferris State University, coming on the show. We had a great conversation with the fellas. It was cut a little bit shorter than we wanted to because of timing streaks. I mean, both those guys, very busy, super appreciative of their time that they took out of their schedule to come on the show. But man, it was a great interview, and we can't wait to bring it to you guys.
Absolutely. But before we do that, we'll get into the Ferris State sports recap real quick. But even before that, we got to pay some bills here.
I was going to say, the lights are looking a little bit flickering. We got to get the electric bill paid.
Yeah, so big thanks to Car Center, the one-stop shop bodywork in Northland Drive, or I should say on Northland Drive in Rogers Heights, a proud sponsor of Behind the Bulldogs here on this podcast. So big thanks to them. You can find out more at carcentermi.com. But as we get into it, Joan, here real quick, men's split over the weekend up north with Northern and Tech. Game winner for Ethan Erickson. Unfortunately, fall in the closing minutes to Northern Michigan. But the women absolutely dominant. Again, they get a full sweep against the Huskies and the Wildcats.
Yeah, they really showed out. I mean, especially in that Northern Michigan game, they saw what Ethan Erickson did to Tech, and they really just shut him. I wouldn't say shut him down, but just made sure that he was always had eyes on him, always had a body on him, and that kind of affected the ability for us to kind of pull away and really show up and show up. But always, that UP trip for both teams is always a tough one because they're two tough teams that play into it. I mean, Ethan got, what was it? 16 off the bench, so that's still nothing too bad, but comparatively to what we've seen when he's able to light it up from threes, he does some pretty good damage, but only getting 2 for 4 from beyond the arc. That's just a little bit less than what we're used to from him, but also Northern Michigan was just like, let's just throw everybody at him.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. But I mean, still solid all the way across for the men's team as well. The women's team, big, especially weekend for Maya Hiram off the bench. She was fantastic, just showing the depth they have there at the forward and center positions there for Coach Westendorf's team. 2 top teams in the top 15 national polls. Pretty darn cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I had this pulled up, actually. I think we're number 9 for women's as of right now. And for men's, we are sitting pretty at number 14.
Wow.
So pretty darn solid. And especially if you look at GLIAC standings, we fell to Northern Michigan for the men's. They're 6-0 in conference. They're sitting alone at the top of the men's side for the conference. We're sitting at 3rd, 3-2 in the conference. A lot of these teams are within 1 or 2 games from each other. And the women's side, basically the same Grand Valley undefeated conference. Us and Parkside are sitting at 2nd with 4-1. Pretty much the same story.
Yeah, for sure. Moving over into hockey real quick before we get to the interview. Unfortunate weekend there. Mankato just did not have the puck with us enough, and that certainly was just playing against us. We won't recap that too much because the boys know they could have played better, and it's going to be a really big test here on Friday. Star Wars night for all of those
may
in
the
the
force
area.
be with you.
Absolutely. It's going to be a fun Friday night. We've actually both seen some of the cool stuff that's planned. It's going to be really cool.
I'm playing with an imaginary lightsaber over here.
Yeah, Joe's having an absolute grand time here. So also Tropical Night on Thursday as you're listening to this. So tomorrow as we release it, they're with Davenport in town for men's and women's hoops. So pretty darn
Get
cool.
out there. Yeah, get out there. Have a good time. It's going to be a solid little spot. That was it for the Ferris State Sports recap. Now let's get in the interview.
Absolutely. So without further ado,
let's swing it to the interview. Now joining us in studio, quite arguably the greatest episode in our show's history, Mr. Steve Brockelbank, Dr. Bill Pink. Fellas, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Always good to be here with you guys.
Absolutely. And I guess we'll start with this. Busy time of year. Have you guys had a break ever since we had our break when we went off for school here, or has it just still been go, go, go ever since we stopped?
Yeah, it's always interesting how you define the word break. Because for me, I feel like my job is 24/7, 365 in my opinion, right? So that's how I take my job. So during the week that the university was shut down, got away, saw grandkids and all, but even when I'm away and out like that, still pegging on emails and making some phone calls where need be. So, but that to me is a break because the email traffic slows down a little bit when everyone's gone and enjoying family. So it gives me an opportunity to kind of break a bit in that regard.
Yeah, I would say I'm similar. I obviously don't have the same hectic schedule that the president of the university does, but there's no question when people are out of the office, when we have contests that are shut down for a few days, it definitely gets quiet. So it was good. So I had a few days and then obviously went to the GLI, and that's always a great event to be involved with, and that kept us busy for a few days. But no, I had a chance to catch my breath and relax and see family and do those things. So it was good.
And speaking of the GLI and some of the big events for sports, I mean, what's been some highlights so far just this year for sports in general for both of you guys?
Yeah, I think from my standpoint, I always believe that here at Ferris State, I think a football season is always a high time when it comes to athletics and when it comes to our community, because our community really supports, they love Ferris State football, they love Ferris State athletics. But when you talk about the football program, people come out for that. People, it's amazing how many people, when I'm traveling, talk about seeing football on being streamed online. Folks across the country, especially Bulldogs across the country, still keep up with football. So that's been fun. It's also been fun just to, over the holidays, being in Detroit on New Year's Eve, where the Red Wings had Ferris State Night at the Red Wings, where we had over 500 people at that game who got tickets through Ferris State and were not only wearing Red Wings red, but they were wearing Ferris State crimson as well with Brutus on their sleeve. So that was a special night for us when we can call in on our Detroit alum and tell them, come on out, not only support the Red Wings, but wear your Bulldog attire. So that was good for a good day for Ferris State.
For sure.
Yeah, I for me, I feel so fortunate, and I say this very sincerely. I'm so blessed to be able to come to work in this building every day, because what I really enjoy, and for me, the highlights of what we do athletically is just seeing the energy and enthusiasm of our student athletes, right? And I have an opportunity to do that every day. No offense to where President Pink's office is, but that's a much quieter, subdued atmosphere than where I go to work every day, right? So I get to be around young people, and young people who have a lot of energy. They're very excited about what they're doing. They're very passionate about what they're doing. So I love the return to campus for students because I feed off that. And I got into athletics, really education. I'm an educator at heart. I mean, I was a teacher to begin with for a number of years, and I got into it because I love being around young people, right? So that to me is the best part of it. But, similar to what President Pink mentioned, obviously football season was fantastic. Volleyball was great. I mean, I had a lot of fun when I went with the team to St. Louis, and they played extremely well, and they do every year. They're so consistent. And now that we're in the midst of winter sports, watching both of our basketball programs and seeing what they're doing, and just knowing that we're on the cusp of being really, really fantastic in both of those sports. And it'll be interesting to see how the end of the season finishes out here. We've got a lot of home games, which I think will benefit us in both programs. But yeah, I'm excited to see what happens when we get into the tournament, what we can do with those basketball programs.
Absolutely. And kind of getting more into the Behind the Bulldogs segment. Obviously, you guys both work in administration. For you, President Pink, the entire university. For you, Mr. Brockelbank, obviously within the athletic department. Just talk about the collaboration you guys have with each other, especially when it comes to really those really big dream ideas that you guys are always looking at as far as advancing university, and just some of how that works behind the scenes.
Yeah, I'll jump in on that because for me, having the belief I have in athletics and what I think athletics brings not only to a campus community, but to a community at large and even to the alumni community, athletics means a lot to me because of those things. So the relationship that my office has with athletics, not just with having the caliber of athletic director we have in Steve, which I would trade him for nobody. We're blessed to have great coaches, but we're blessed to have athletic administrative staff who are second to none. And I put my athletic director up against anybody in the country. When we have the opportunity to have the collaboration around how do we as a president's office work well with our athletic programs And what does that need to look like? It means a lot to me when a coach says, hey, can you show up at this or can you come to that? If my calendar allows it, I'm coming. Just like I would if a faculty member says, can you come to my class or whatever? I want to come. Because when we're able to support our students or our student athletes from my office, that means a lot to me. So whenever we have opportunities coming up this weekend, when we have 2 back-to-back games, basketball with Grand Valley, men and women, our football program will have recruits on campus. Well, I'll be here most of the day that day on Saturday because not only taking in great basketball, but also spending time with those recruits who are coming in and their families. Just from my standpoint, saying, from the president's perspective, you mean something if you come here to Ferris State, and to speak into those lives of those students, potential student athletes for us and their families means a lot. And then that evening, our women's softball team has their diamond dinner. We'll be at that as well, because I want to make sure that we're there to support our student athletes as they have their dinner that night to kick off their season, although I would not want to be at a softball game anytime soon. Hey, whatever we can do to support them. But that means a lot to me to be able to see those things and help our athletic director, his staff, and our coaches know that your president is accessible for those things.
Yeah, guys, I mean, we as an athletic department hit the presidential Powerball jackpot, right? I mean, we really did. We're so fortunate to have someone like President Pink as an advocate for us. As the great thing was he was a former student athlete, coach, athletic administrator, done it at a variety of levels. So for me as an athletic director, to be able to go in and just bump things off him and get his thoughts and know that he's been there and he understands athletics, that's invaluable. I think the other thing too is that philosophically we have to match, right? That's when you talk to ADs at universities that have successful athletic programs, they'll tell you that the board of trustees, the president, the athletic director, and the athletic department are all in line with each other. And I think that one of the things that I've learned about President Pink is how much he cares for young people, how much he cares about seeing them succeed, how important education is. Like, we're not just here to win games. Like, we're here to change young people's lives and educate them and graduate them. And I feel the exact same way. So I think that's really important, that we're in lockstep philosophically with each other. And I really believe that we are. The opportunity for us as an athletic department, the reporting structure has changed too. So, I have an opportunity to report directly to him, which I think makes a huge difference and allows for more efficiency in some of the things that we're doing. So, no, I couldn't be more thrilled. And I think we all recognize that. And I say all of us, I mean, the athletic staff, coaches recognize how fortunate we are to have President Pink.
That's awesome. And it's been a hot second since both of you guys have been on. Last time it was a lot warmer out and it was a lot nicer. And we asked you both, what is it when you do get that free time? Because it's a million miles an hour all the time for both of you. What is it now, especially when it's a lot colder out? What do you guys kind of find yourself doing when you can kind of kick the feet up a little bit, take a load off? What is it now instead of being outside? Because I know President Pink, you said you like to fish, you like to golf, and especially for both of you guys, what's it like now when it's too cold outside to do anything?
Yeah, well, no, actually it's not. So
I guess there is ice fishing. There is ice fishing. I totally forgot about that.
It's funny you ask because I was just sending a text message out to my. I'm blessed to have my wife's family that lives right here in the area, and so I was texting 2 of my brother-in-laws and my nephew and another friend who lives here in Mecosta County. I texted them last night and said, okay, Sunday afternoon after church, I'm headed for a lake. I'm going to be out on the ice. Do you guys want to go? And so all 4 of them going, yeah, let's do it. So my downtime on Sunday afternoon is, and they were going, yeah, but we have to be at a lake that has some level of connectivity because we're going to have to stream the Lions game while we're out fishing. Of course, you got to be able to do that, right?
No question.
But to me, if I can get out and get out on the ice and get some fishing in on Sunday, that to me is my therapy for Sunday afternoon after church.
So for ice fishing, are you more of the guy who's got all the electronics, the camera in the water? Or are you just more of like a string in the water and see if anything bites?
Yeah, so I don't like wasting time if I'm out there. So if I'm
I respect that.
If I can get my my sonar down, my Garmin, I get that underneath the ice and pop the shanty up and turn the heater on. I can make my own living room if I'm careful enough. But no, I'll have the Garmin out, and if I'm drilling holes, I just want to make sure there's something down there below me so that I'm not just standing there with the hook in the water with nothing nothing under there but sand and gravel. So I do a little bit of cheating, but I'm also, and telling a listener, don't hate me for it, but I'm also, when I fish, I don't fish for entertainment and sport. If I'm fishing, I'm bringing dinner home and my wife is going to be happy.
There you go. There you go.
I like that. Yeah. No, I would say I used to be an ice fisherman. And in fact, my brother-in-law, I saw him this weekend. He said, "Do you want your shanty? It's in the garage." I said, "No, you can keep the shanty." It's a really nice shanty.
Don't need it anymore.
I'll tell you what, I can't muster up the strength to go out there in the cold. I love to salmon fish. I love to fish on Lake Michigan. So in fact, last night, Heidi came home and I had a couple YouTube videos going from tangle tackle fishing, trying to educate myself on the better use of plugs for salmon in late season salmon season. So that's kind of how I occupy my time. And to be honest with you, you know, the winter it's busy with basketball and hockey and those kinds of things. So yeah, I would say I don't do a whole lot in the winter other than go to work, go to sporting events, and we have grandkids that are close by. So I think Sunday actually we're gonna probably head to church and head over and see them and have dinner with them. So that occupies most of my time until that we can get on the boat in the summer.
And for me, to me, it's important because I know that if I'm not careful, I can end up gone from the house every day of the week. I mean, that wouldn't be out of the ordinary if I allowed it to rule me that way. So I try to be very intentional because the jobs that we have in the role that I play and many other people, I don't put myself in any different position, but if you're not careful, you don't want the job to kill you. And with all the things that you deal with in these roles, you have to have those moments that you just break away and do something that really requires a totally different way of thinking. That is just to me on Sunday, the idea of, so do I want to use this color on my hook? Do I want to use this on bait? How deep do I want to go? Yeah, that kind of thinking to me now, I love that because it just totally changes the perspective of how I'm thinking. I may not catch a single thing on Sunday, but the therapy it will give me will be all worth the time.
Yeah. You know what they say, bad day of fishing is better than a good day of work. So.
Amen. Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
But you know what's great about it, at least I'm going to speak for myself, and I imagine you feel the same way. I don't know if that's so true for our jobs, right? Like we're so fortunate to be able to do what we do, right? To be an athletic director, like I go, people pay me to do this? Like, this is pretty awesome, right?
It's just a good time all the time is what it is.
Yeah, I don't want to say every time, right? There's tough days at work, but in general, to be able to do, I think about my family. Like, in my family, they all worked in the auto plants, right? So when I saw those guys go to work, like, they were pretty miserable. And they were working for one thing, to get to retirement. And I come to work, I'm like, I like being here. Like, this is fun to get up and go to work. And so, but you're right. I still love to fish, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But I'm just saying that, I don't know. There's some days where I probably would rather be here than maybe fishing, to be quite honest with you. So.
Yeah, and oh gosh, Lord knows it depends on the day. Because there are some days where some of the things that we're able to put together, to work together for the betterment of our students, right? So whenever we're able to put together either a conversation, a partnership, a really neat initiative, some of the things, honestly, that we're working on right now, if we're able to get some of these things over the finish line, it will be amazing for our students. Our students will benefit. Our university will benefit. Our alumni will be proud. So to me, those are things, those kind of days, I've, in my career, I've been blessed to have some of those days where it's just you celebrate those days because you also have those other days that come as well.
Absolutely. One last question for you guys. Obviously, we've asked you guys the question already, so we won't go through that again. But for those that especially would want to join to be a part of the Bulldog family, whether it's a fan, a student, or a staff member, what would you say is the best thing about working for Ferris State and being a Bulldog?
I think the best thing about it is that I've never seen a university that has the type of alumni base that is so committed at a Division II level, a school our size. Our alumni base across the country, they are proud Bulldogs. They are folks who, when I see them in any place, whether they're here on campus or I'm on the other side of the country, like this past summer, I was in Canada with one of our alum who was an alum from 33 years ago. Wow. And it was a PGM graduate, one of our first PGM graduates in the program. He was amazingly not only proud of his time at Ferris State, but to hear this guy who lives in Canada and had graduated from here 30 plus years ago. And he's telling me all the things that's going on my campus. Hey, how's this going? How's this going? I mean, he keeps up with what's happening on campus. He keeps up with our athletic programs. He keeps up with the different initiatives. That to me is one of the coolest things about Ferris State, is not only the fact that those alumni are so proud of what they did here. So many of them will tell me, I'm working in the area that I graduated from. I graduated with this degree, and I'm putting my Ferris State degree to work. I think that is always awesome. When you say, I finished as a PGM graduate and I'm working as a professional on the golf course, or I graduated as a welding engineer, I'm working for this company making, boatloads of money in the industry. That's what Ferris State does so often for graduates, is that it's not only about the degree, it's also about putting you in a career path that is right there aligned with what you learned when you were here.
Yeah. So best part for me is really the passion, the love that people have, certainly in this building, for young people. The fact that we work hard at impacting lives every day, and we don't bat 1,000%, but we're willing to take chances on some young people, and we're willing to really, quite frankly, turn their lives around. And when I see young people come in as freshman student athletes, and I watch them leave as seniors, I'm just incredibly proud of the work that we do and the impact that we've had on them. And I just know how much people, like I said, I think all over campus, but how much love and care people have for our students. And I know in this building for our student athletes, I know how much our coaches truly care about our kids. I know how much I care about them. And to me, that's the best part. That's what I love about being here.
The other thing I'd say to that, Brandon, apologize. We are blessed here at Ferris to have people who work here who really care about what they do, care about our students. Across campus, you will find people who not only love Ferris State, but they love our students. In this building, you talk about a coaching staff that loves their student athletes. I love people like Coach Glenn. I mean, when you talk about Tia and the work she does with our volleyball program, you talk about Tony, you talk about Greg, you talk about all these folks, Andy Bronkema, all these guys and ladies who are so focused on not just winning games. We wouldn't do it if we didn't want to win the game. Mm-hmm. But they're also very focused on the person, the athlete, the student, the person. And they want to see those people be successful on the field, on the court, but more, I even think in many cases, more so off the court. They want to see them successful. And when you're blessed to have that kind of a coaching staff, that not only gives you so much good to work with, but it's such a relief from my standpoint in my job. When I know that I have people who care about their student athletes the way these folks do, it's really a privilege and honor.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I just want to, I want to echo that. I have a daughter that goes to school here, and she's not a student athlete, but she has had a wonderful experience, and she's interacted with so many professors and staff members who go out of their way to help her, right? And they've made an impact on her. And so I just think there's people all across this campus that do wonderful work with young people and are involved with young people for the right reasons, right? Mm-hmm. Because they want to change their lives. And I think that makes Ferris a really special place.
Absolutely. Fellas, we appreciate all that you do. We also appreciate the time you take out of your day to come on the show. It's always a blast talking to you both, and we wish you the best of days.
Oh, thank you guys.
Yeah,
appreciate
thank you.
Big thanks to the dynamic duo for stopping by. Joe, we need that 2-time speed here with the Slate.
Absolutely. We got both tennis teams in action, both basketball teams in action. Track and field is also in action. Ice hockey has 2 games this week. Check out FerrisStateBulldogs.com for the whole slate on the calendar. That's going to be it for today's episode. Brandon,
until next time,
take care, everybody.